All right, good morning. Committee on Parole is called to order. Today is June the 18th, 2024. It's Tuesday. My name is Cheryl Renatza. I'm serving as chairman of today's parole panel. I am situated at our anchor location at DOC headquarters in Baton Rouge. My colleagues on the panel this morning are participating virtually. We have Mrs. Carolyn Stapleton and Mr. Steve Prater on the panel this morning. Here in Baton Rouge at the anchor location, I would like for staff to please introduce yourself.
Jason Thompson, Jerome Bakery, Parole Williams, Free Owens,
Francis Abbott.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Our first remote location is at Iberville Parish Jail. We have Mr. Vaughn at Iberville. Mr. Vaughn, is there a staff member in the room with you there?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I'd like to have the staff please introduce themselves for the record.
Deputy Simpson.
All right, thank you, Deputy Simpson, for accommodating us this morning. We appreciate it. Mr. Vaughn, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
FREDDIE VAUGHN, DOC number 435929.
All right, Mr. Vaughn, we're here for a revocation decision this morning. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce or acknowledge the folks who have joined us by Zoom this morning who are here in support of you. We have Dr. Michelle Landry, your pastor, Joseph Toulier, Jeremy Saylor Sr., associate pastor, another pastor, Alan Simmons. And for those who have indicated they'd like to speak on your behalf, we'll call on them at the appropriate time. First, Mr. Vaughn, would you, you have a parole revocation questionnaire there in your hand?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that your signature at the bottom of that page, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
So based on your your answers to those questions, you're not eligible for appointed counsel this morning. Are you ready to proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So the way this will work is I'll read the allegation against you, after which you'll enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. Then I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Stapleton. Your case has been assigned to her. She'll take the lead on asking your questions. Once the panel members have completed their questions of you, we'll hear from the folks who want to speak on your behalf. Before we vote, if you'd like to, you can make a statement. Okay, you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Mr. Vaughn, you're accused of violating the conditions of your parole, specifically condition number 4, and it reads, on or about February 5th, 2024, you were involved in criminal activity in the commission of the offense of domestic abuse battery, a felony, 2 counts. You were arrested by the Iberville Parish Sheriff's Office on February 5th, 2024. On May the 7th, 2024, the charges under Iberville docket 110-24 were null pros. Mr. Vaughn, how do you plead to violating condition number 4?
Not guilty.
Right, not guilty. Would you answer Mrs. Stapleton, please? Yeah, you're still on mute. We're providing some assistance.
Good morning, Mr. Vaughn. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to read to you what the police supplemental report said, that they were dispatched. Can you hear me? All right. That they were dispatched and where they were advised that there was, that the defendant committed a second-degree abuse battery on the complaint on February the 2nd, 2024. Where he asked his wife, well, that every time he left, what he said was every time he left the resident, there was a disagreement between the two of them. And then Frederick began breaking household items. And then the verbal escalated into violence against the complainant, the wife, Chantel Vaughn, where Frederick open-handedly slapped Chantel in the face and with an open hand and force hit her in the throat, grabbed her by the hair, threw her out of the residence with force against her will. And then moreover, Frederick eventually let Chantel back inside the residence, but continually used unwanted force and grabbed Chantel by the hair and head against where he scratched her back, neck, and ear, which this detective observed and was consistent with the injuries and the photos taken at the scene. Do you agree with that statement, or are you saying that this didn't happen?
Ma'am, no, ma'am.
You're saying that it didn't happen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is Chantel going to speak on your behalf today?
I don't know. I don't know if she had ever got in touch with the my parole officer. I think he was supposed to try to talk to her. I haven't talked to her about it.
Well, she had said that on January the 24th that there was she had said that there was 2 previous incidences where she had a verbal argument with you that turned physical and that you grabbed her by the throat. And one was in October of 23, one was January of 24th, and then this latest one. So that was 3 times, and the frequency had increased. No, those
No,
things
ma'am.
didn't happen.
No, ma'am.
Well, we have pictures, and you know what they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And the pictures are that she was bruised from under her throat and on both arms, and she had fingernail marks in her arms and bad bruises, and then on the back of her shoulder and the bottom of her back, very bad bruises.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think that she was able, we know she wasn't able to do that to herself.
Mm-hmm.
And they took those pictures when this offense occurred. So how you think?
We would I mean, we just like any other couple, you know, we go through stuff like that, but nothing to that extent.
Well, you don't go through just stuff like that when you're just any other couple, because just any other couple, they don't beat on their wives or
Yes, ma'am.
girlfriends.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're a lot bigger than her.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's where we get predominant aggressor and stuff like that. But she was injured. And even though she did, you know, she recanted, I know that, I read all of that, she recanted, but the pictures didn't. And then I know that in court on 5/7/24, the court advised the victim that the no harm protective order issued by Judge Ingolia is still in effect. You're aware of that, right?
Yes, ma'am. And that one and another one, something that was supposed to be issued by Judge Baptiste.
Still in effect?
I remember him giving me one. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was
Okay. Protective order, restraining order, something like that.
kind of similar to what Judge Angolio gave me.
Okay. Let me tell you something about judges. They don't issue those orders unless they know that there is a probable cause and prevailing reason to issue an order like that. So there is no doubt in my mind that the reason that you have been brought before us by revocation is in fact true, did happen, and was justified. So I'm going to hand it over to whoever else would like to speak to you this morning.
Are you still married to Chantel?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Is there anything you want to say to us before we call on your supporters?
Yes, ma'am. I don't have to actually give y'all my record or nothing like that, because I know y'all have it right before y'all and y'all see my whole life, everything that I've ever been through. And I just want to say that right now, I'm at a point in my life where God has blessed me in a way like he never blessed me before. And I know how my past is. And right now I'm in a position to where I can actually give back to the community instead of taking from the community, like I've been doing all my life. And God has blessed me to be able to do things that I never did before, like actually buy a house, pay a mortgage, have a car note, have a good job, be able to take care of myself and everything that I need to take care of. And I understand that this right here has actually been a setback for me. And actually having y'all to have to go through what y'all going through today, and me being here and y'all have to do what y'all have to do. I apologize for that, for everybody having to be here this morning. But I also just want to say that I've never been in this position before, and I just want to ask that if y'all can help me be able to keep doing what I'm doing for God and my community and my friends and everybody that's looking up to me and everybody that's supporting me and there for me. I just, that's all I have to say right now, ma'am. That if y'all can help me in this situation.
All right. Well, we'll hear from the folks who want to speak on your behalf. Could we first hear from Dr. Landry?
Yes, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. We greet you in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And I am the Apostolic Overseer, along with my husband, of Victory International Ministries, where Freddie and Chantel were a part of our discipleship. And we met Freddie about over a year ago. We've been knowing him. And during this time, he has been a committed disciple. He has been faithful in the things of God. Freddie has done many outreaches with us, giving back to the youth of our community and also serving the homeless population with us. Even the weekend prior to these events taking place, Freddie was going to be ministering to a group of young people at our church. And so we have seen him do the work. We have seen him be committed to a full-time job and be a loving husband and a loving grandfather, as well as a father. And we would like you to take all of those things into consideration. When these events happen, I spoke with his wife, and one of the things she did share with me personally, she said she didn't know why she called the police. They were having a heated argument and she was afraid. Those are the words that she spoke to me as her leader. And I do feel like I have liberty because she never asked me not to share those words. So that is what I have to say. I've been knowing Freddie for over a year. He has been consistent in his character. He has been faithful to the ministry and to the community. And we did walk with him during the home buying process. That was a very exciting time for him because it was something that he shared that he never imagined, you know, the time that he served and you know, being able to get out and to be able to have the consistency on his job to qualify. And we actually walked him through that process. We are very confident, and we want you to know that my husband and I, he's not here on the Zoom because he had surgery recently and he's still recovering, you know, but we want you to know that Freddie has a family in our church. He has a community within our church, and him and his wife, you know, we are available to them to continue to counsel them and to continue just to walk them through whatever they have been going through. She is willing to work with him. So we're asking that you give him another opportunity to be able to go forward and to continue the good work. The work that has been started, it is not a work of Freddie or Apostle Dr. Nichelle or Victory International Ministries. According to Philippians 1:6, the Bible
Move on.
God.
Sorry, you've exceeded the time limit.
So
I
we
appreciate.
thank you so much.
Yes,
God
ma'am.
bless.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have to move on. Mr.
I'll
Tooyan.
Thank you.
Ready for me? Yes, I'm Sergeant Touye, West Baton Rouge Parish, Sheriff's Office. Freddie was in our work release, and Freddie attended church regularly there and ended up being the pastor while he was in here. And once he got out, he was allowed to come back and minister to the guys in the work release and help them out. And he's been a big help to these guys, and they look up to him. He's a good guy. We've never had problems with Freddie. He's just a godly man, and he's really worked hard to do the things he do. And like I said, when he got out, he ministered outside and inside the prison. So I'm just here to say, I wish you would consider all that and what y'all gonna do with him. And he's a good guy.
Well, thank you, Sergeant Touye. We appreciate you joining in this morning. We'll move on to Alan Simmons, please. You're still on mute.
Y'all can hear me now?
Now we can. We need you to be, we need you to stay in one location because we can't, you make us dizzy when you're moving around.
Okay. Yes, my name is excuse me, Pastor Alan Simmons, and I was the pastor at the work release. I the one when I left, Freddie became the pastor after me, but I was able to watch a young man grow, while under my leadership. And Freddie excelled tremendously. I was very proud, to be his pastor. He, when he got out, he done some remarkable things. He, like Sergeant Touye said, he went back into the work release and he ministered to the guys in there. The guys gravitated to him and they very highly respect him. As I go back in there, they're asking about him, and their prayers and sympathy, what I'm saying, for this situation, is for him. What, like he said, Freddie came, from a hard, background, like, many of us, what I'm saying, but he overcame that and he got out, he bought him a house, got his car, wed his wife, and they were a very happy couple. When I spoke to his wife, she did not disclose what y'all said. She did not disclose that, part, to me, and she had it seemed, as if she, initiated a lot of that, so, but I'm just saying that Freddie deserves to be, to have another opportunity. He is able to, help other young men in, going through the situations, of life, that he have went through and overcame. And they, they're very looking forward to that, to, him, ministering to them, what I'm saying, mentoring them. And, he's a very good man, and I pray that y'all would take consideration that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. We appreciate your joining us today.
Okay.
Mr. Vaughn, anything else you'd like to say to wrap it up before we vote?
Just again that that I really would like to just ask for y'all help in this matter, just be able to get me to back where I was, because like I said, what I was doing, I never did that before, and it felt good to be able to give back to somebody instead of take from somebody. And I just want to ask for y'all help in this matter.
All right, thank you, sir. I think that we are prepared to vote. Mrs. Staples will be voting first.
Yes, sir, Mr. Vaughn, y'all can hear me?
Yes, you can.
Okay. what I'd like to say today is I saw some very concerning situations going on here. First of all, I'd like to give a shout out to the White Castle Police Department and Probation and Parole for their excellent documentation of this criminal violence. That was very important, you know, including the pictures and the fact that they were taken. Secondly, I'd like to express my concern for the fact that according to your wife, this happened in October, February, and then we had it again in May. So there's a frequency, and every single time she expressed the fact that it involved strangulation, which she calls choking. Those things, for a lethality picture, for you to know and for her to know, is concerning because a lot of times that'll end up in a homicide situation. And you are in prison right now for manslaughter. So those things concern me. And as for your wife being afraid, she was afraid and bruised when she called 911. So that was another reason. We don't have to just take her word for it. We actually have the pictures for it. I hope your wife will seek out domestic violence if she wants to. I'm sure that there's a shelter around there that maybe has some programs that she can attend that'll help her out. And I hope that anytime you get the opportunity, you'll do the same. So maybe this will get back on track and we won't be seeing either one of you here later on. So my vote today, because of the preponderance of evidence, that is to revoke.
Thank you, Mr. Prater.
Yes, my vote is to also revoke for the same reasons, the history of violence.
Thank you. And Mr. Vaughn, I've been impressed by the things that folks have said about you today, and you know that you've grown and you've been doing good deeds, but you know you've got some work to do on yourself so that this sort of situation doesn't happen again. I do agree with my colleagues. My vote today is to revoke, and this is a public safety issue in my opinion. So today, sir, your parole's being revoked. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
We're going to sign off at Iberville. It's 9:29 a.m. Thanks, Deputy Simpson, for accommodating us. All right. Is reconvening. We're now at Bossier Parish Medium Security Facility. And we have before us, sir, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
Yes, ma'am. Tyrone Lomas, 400-938.
And I'd like the officer in the room with you to introduce himself for the record, please.
Lieutenant Todd Roberts, Assistant Warden, Head of
Thanks.
Security.
All right, thanks, Lieutenant Roberts, for helping us out and accommodating us today.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Lomas, my name is Cheryl Renatz. I'm serving as chairman of your parole panel today. You see on the screen also my colleagues is Mrs. Stapleton and Mr. Prater. We are your parole panel. We're here for a revocation decision this morning. Do you have a parole revocation questionnaire with you?
Oh, ma'am, I'll listen to you first.
Okay, well, we're going to put a form up on the screen. I need you that form. Do you recognize that form?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that your signature at the bottom of that page dated May 24th?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just trying to establish, based on that information on that form, you're not eligible for appointed counsel. So are you ready to proceed this morning with the revocation hearing?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to read the allegations against you, after which you'll enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. Then Mrs. Stapleton will take the lead on the interview questions.
Yes, ma'am.
And before we reach a decision, you'll be allowed to make a statement if you want to do that.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're, Mr. Lomas, you're accused of violating conditions of your parole. Condition first, it's condition number 4, and it states you committed the offense domestic abuse battery, which resulted in your arrest on June 30th, 2023. On September 6, 2023, the charge was dismissed, and it's under Bossier 248134. Mr. Lomas, how do you plead to that instance of violating condition number 4?
Being that it was dismissed.
Sir, just say guilty or not guilty, and we'll
Yes,
talk about
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Guilty.
You say guilty?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we have another condition, number 4. You committed the offense of failure to register as a sex offender, which resulted in your arrest by the Bossier Parish Sheriff's Office September 22, 2023. On May 13, 2024, you pled guilty to the offense of criminal mischief and were given credit for time served. So how do you plead to that violation?
On the failure to register, I would like to say not guilty.
Okay.
And
All right. We'll talk about it. And then
Okay.
lastly, we have number 10, condition number 10, and it states you are currently $3,482 in arrears on your supervision fees. The last
Yes.
payment reported on your account was December 21, 2019. How do you plead to violating number 10?
I'm going to plead guilty to that as well.
Okay. Would you answer Mrs. Stapleton's questions, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. Lomas.
Good morning, Ms. Staple.
I'm just going to read here from the summary of the hearing. That should be
Yes,
familiar
ma'am.
to you, okay? As far as the domestic abuse battery, the hearing officer found that probable cause does exist to believe Tyrone Lomas violated the conditions of his supervision based upon the testimony of both the supervising officer as well as the offender. Probable cause was found on condition number 4, criminal activity in relation to the domestic abuse criminal conduct. The video evidence, there was a video, evidence provided enough information to believe Mr. Lomas failed to adhere to the conditions of his release. Though both he and the victim were arrested for the domestic abuse, the video appears to show Mr. Lomas striking the victim so hard it knocked her off her balance and she had to catch herself before falling to the ground entirely. Probable cause was further found concerning condition number 4 due to Mr. Lomas pleading guilty to criminal mischief, pled down from the failure to register. So you pled guilty for that. Just you did a plea bargain. Pertaining to condition number 8, probable cause was not found due to failing to provide proof of Mr. Lomas having been referred to treatment. You said that you went to a day center, and then you were informed that the day center is not a sex offender treatment. So you understand that now, is that correct?
Yes,
The day
ma'am.
center doesn't, okay. All right, pertaining to condition number 10, probable cause was found due to Mr. Lomas failing to make any payments since 2019. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's go back up to number 4.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll tell you what I've read, and in the statements and everything, there was a fight between you and she. But somebody who was taking the video said that you struck her first, and that's what shows on the video. And that's what came out in the hearing, that you struck her first, and that created the situation where there was, she fell to the ground and she was hit. So now, that's my statement on this.
Yes, ma'am.
So is it Mr. Prater's turn or back to the chairman?
Okay, thank you. I don't see any questions by Mr. Prater. Okay. Mr. Lomas, what is your relationship now to the victim?
We never really even had a relationship. If I can say that, when this incident happened, it was in my yard on my property. I never hit her first, never hit her first. I ended up with a broke knee prior to her kicking me in the knee. And even after investigation due to DAs, they found no probable cause to charge me with it. I didn't even act on this here incident at no criminal matter. I was trying to stay away from it as much as I could. I feared for my life completely, is why my family ended up calling the officers out. But I mean, I just got attacked bad. I mean, I had a $5,000 misdemeanor bond. She had a $60,000 bond. And I mean, they found no probable cause to even bill me on the charge after investigating it through the district attorney's office.
Can you tell us what happened?
Yes, ma'am. I was outside changing my foster father's tire, and she came over and was very upset about something. And we thought we was talking to her about something dealing with cancer. And some more friends came over, and I think she got upset because the fact some other friends were over, and she just created an argument with me. And while I was sitting down, I was punched and choked, and then by me sitting there, she kicked me in my knee, which sustained me, and she broke it. She broke my ACL, and that's why the officers were called, because of 911 through the medical procedure for that. But I mean, I did everything I could to not accumulate this situation any more than what it was.
Yeah. What's your relationship with the woman?
No, we have no relationship.
Did you at that time?
Well, I mean, we had socialized, yes, ma'am. It was nothing more than that, though. It wasn't like we were planning to do anything further, like, you know, date seriously or something like that.
Right. I don't have any other questions. I don't see any other questions on the board. Would you like to make a final statement before we go?
Would that be me you asking, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. As far as the failure to register, if you notice, that was placed on me while I was incarcerated. I mean, I've been incarcerated since August 9th from my parole officer, from reporting in. I bonded out on the domestic charge, but I went and reported to my parole officer, and 2 months after reporting, he decided to confine me for the domestic charge. Well, September 6th, the domestic charge got dropped and a hearing was conducted, but there was no final revocation hearing for the domestic charge. 2 days later, they put the failure to register on me, but I was incarcerated. I didn't get arrested for a failure to register until I was incarcerated. So there was no way I could have registered. And of course, my attorney and the judge, I guess, told me that taking the criminal mischief, which was a non-violent, misdemeanor, would not jeopardize my parole, is why that got like that. I wouldn't have never took it because I never did a failure to register.
Now,
I
that
was
was poor
incarcerated.
information, poor advice. I think
Ma'am?
panel prepared to vote. Mrs. Stapleton?
Yes, ma'am. Today I'm going to revoke, based upon, failure to register, which was played down to criminal mischief, the domestic abuse violence, and number 10, that you have not been, you're in arrears for your account.
All right, Mr. Prater?
I vote the same way, vote to revoke, and for a number of reasons, as stated by Mrs. Stapleton.
Okay. And Mr. Lomas, I concur with my colleagues. You have a poor supervision history, and I find you guilty of violating 2 instances of condition number 4, as well as condition number 10 of your supervision conditions. Today, sir, your parole is being revoked.
Good morning.
Am I up? Oh, I didn't sign nothing. You
right, we are back in session. We are ready for our next case, and I'd like to ask the offender, please introduce yourself. Tell us your name, DOC number, sir.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is NEPTALY ALTAMIRANO, DOC number 7199740.
All right, Mr. Altamirano, my name is Cheryl Renanza, serving as chairman today. My colleague panel this morning, you'll see Mr. Steve Prater and Mrs. Carolyn Stapleton. Also joining us today, who wants input in your case, is Mr. Randy Myers with the DA's office, and we're going to call on him at the appropriate time for his remarks. First, I'm going to read some identifying information into the record, after which I'll ask you to confirm that information. Then we'll have a parole interview with you. We'll hear from the staff there and the DA's office, and at the end, before we hear from the DA, you'll be allowed to make a statement if you'd like to do so. Okay, you ready?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Altamirano, you're classified as a second felony offender. You're currently serving a 5-year sentence, sentenced in Jefferson Parish. In June of 2021, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, possession of a firearm with rated serial numbers as habitual aggravated damage to property. Your parole eligibility date is November 2nd, 2024. You don't earn good time, so your full term date is February 3rd, 2026. Does all that sound correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay. So your case has been assigned to me. I'm going to take the lead on the interview. So we'll just jump right in. You, how old are you, sir?
I'm 25 years old, ma'am.
How long you been in jail?
I've been in jail since 2021.
So 3 years?
Yes, ma'am.
So you've served 3 years of your 5-year sentence. And I do know that you are a second offender. Have you ever spent any other jail?
Yes, ma'am. My first time incarcerated, I did about 18 months. Due to the fact that I got good time for getting my high set, they let me go, I believe, 90 days early off of a 2-year aggravated sentence.
So how do you find yourself getting back in trouble?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
How did you find yourself getting back in trouble? You were released in February of 2018. You finished that sentence in October of 2018, and then you're back in jail in June of 2021. Why is that? Did we lose him?
You know,
Thinking about Mr. Altamirano, I think we were having some,
I think they turned it off.
your camera, there we go. Y'all are back. Thank you. Can y'all hear us?
We can. Sorry.
Okay, good. Thank you. We appreciate your help. All right, so
sorry.
Mr. Altamirano, I'd asked you, why are you back in jail?
Because of my mistakes, I let temporary emotion make a decision for me, and even though I was immature, I take full responsibility for my action.
So,
There's no,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. There's no reason or even a excuse for why I did what I did. And,
What did you do? What did you do?
I shot someone's house.
Why'd you do that?
Someone threatened my family to rape them and kill them, and I took that out of proportion. And like the detectives told me, even though he said that I should have never did what I did, and I've come to realize that that is true. I should have never did what I did. I should have just called the authorities and told them instead. But instead, I took the matter into my own hands, and here I am now away from my family, which I regret every day of it. My daughters are getting older, my grandmother, my mother are getting old, and it's just, I don't know.
You mentioned the aggravated burglary, and you got the 2-year sentence in DOC. That was also simple burglary of an inhabited dwelling. Then you were released, and then in 2018, you have an arrest in Pike County for receiving stolen property.
Yes, ma'am. That was because I received a stolen vehicle at the time, And yes, I did know that it was stolen. I am taking responsibility for that. And the authorities at Pike County, well, the person who the vehicle was for dropped the charges, and I got sent to Morehouse Parish. And from there, they dropped the charges once again, and I was released again.
Okay, and then in January of 21, possession of marijuana.
Yes, ma'am. I got caught with, I believe, I don't know how much it was, but it was, I did smoke marijuana at the time. For a long time, I was addicted to drugs, and I believe I am addicted to drugs. I'm just a recovering addict. And with this program, it's actually helped me a lot.
Good. Then continuing on with your record, in June of 21, I see an arrest for domestic abuse, battery, and child endangerment.
Yes, ma'am. That was me and my the mother of my youngest daughter. We were having an altercation, and the phone was a phone was thrown, and it was snatched out of her hand from me, and I do take responsibility for that. And APB was put out for me, but when everything was cleared out, she went with me to the courthouse, and she dropped all of the charges and said that she didn't want to she didn't want me prosecuted for. I don't know why. I can't really say why, but I do take responsibility for that. We were having a heated disagreement. It was early in the morning. We just had our daughter about a week and a half before that, and that's really all I can say. I was kind of stressed out. She was stressed out from having to deal with the baby all night. The baby was crying a lot, and I was trying to clean the apartment up the whole morning, and she woke up mad at me and said, "Well, aren't I gonna do anything?" And I got mad, and she got mad, and she said I could just get out, and I said, "Well, give me my car keys," and next thing you know, the phone was thrown, and it was a big ordeal.
So you've completed the CFOL program?
I actually graduate as of right now, December 15th of 2024.
So how long you been in the program?
I've been in the program 3 months.
Do you think it's going to do us good?
Yes, ma'am. If you don't mind me just adding, the living in balance and the moral recognition therapy actually helps a lot, because the moral recognition therapy is a 12-step in group session, and it just opens your mind, and it helps you see from a different standpoint in your life, and you see what you did wrong, who you used to be, who you need to be, what your wants and your needs are, and it gives you a hope and a desire to be a better man. If you're a father or a mother, it helps you to have a better desire to be a better father or, a mother. The living in balance actually helps you with living in balance. It helps you have a little bit of discipline in your life without the drugs and the alcohol. The risk management has helped me with learning the 27 risk factors. As of right now, I'm still practicing. I'm still studying the risk factors in order to pass my test that should be coming up in a few weeks. And I'm better learning how to analyze and use them to my advantage. And the victim awareness has shown me that we are not the victims. I am not the victim, no matter what. And I have to take responsibility for all of my actions, no matter what. Our families and our communities are the victims of what we do every day. And
well, Mr. Altamirano, I'm very encouraged by hearing you speak. You sound like you're really, really getting something out of the program, which tells me that you're ready for it.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe you wouldn't have been 2 years ago. So I'm really pleased that you're getting some good out of it to help you. How many children do you have?
I have two. I have 2 daughters, a 10-year-old and a 3-year-old.
I'm gonna tell you, I think you need to stay where you're at till you finish the program. I know that takes you beyond your parole eligibility date, but I think that's very important to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Your grandmother has joined us. Does she want to speak? I think she wants to speak. I didn't have a list. I'm gonna go ahead and hear from her now.
All right. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your time.
I'm coming back to you. We'll be back with you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I don't have the grandmother's name, ma'am. Would you go ahead and click on your microphone, introduce yourself, and tell us what you'd like to say?
My grandma.
Oh, I see we have Maria Slusher. That's your grand.
Yes, ma'am.
Go
She's
ahead,
kind of
ma'am.
old. Yes, ma'am. She might not know how to use the mic. I'm sorry. She was so nervous about being here today.
Ms. Slusher, can you hear us? How about Austin Soriano? Is he available?
Hello?
Soriano, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. What would you like us to know?
Good afternoon, ma'am. I mean, good morning, ma'am.
Morning.
My name is Austin. I'm here to speak for my cousin NEPTALY. What I do want to, let it be known is, when he comes home, I have, work for him. I'm an area manager for a company. And I'm just ready for him to come home. That way I can put him to work, keep him busy. That way, make him some money. I work in 3 different states. The company that I work for is based off in Tampa. Right now, we have work in Mississippi, the state of Mississippi, the state of Louisiana, and the state of Texas. And so I can have them what we call is a floater, which basically travels from different job sites. So,
All right, Mr. Soriano, thank you so much for being here in support of your cousin NEPTALY this morning. We appreciate it. It doesn't appear that Ms. Slusher is going to be able to unmute her microphone, so we're going to move over to Mr. Meyer.
Okay.
Good morning, Randy Meyer, Assistant DA, Jefferson Parish. I've got some concerns with Mr. Altamirano. The weapons offenses and the fact that he shot numerous times into a house is very, very concerning to me. There's victim opposition. I didn't catch whether he finished the Steve Harrell program or not, or when he's scheduled to finish that. Can you help me with that, Ms. Renata?
Yeah, Mr. Meyer, he's scheduled to December 15th. He's supposed to finish.
Okay. I think that's highly important for him to complete, and also other programs too that'll help him. When he gets out on. I've heard some of the programs that he's taken. I think that's good, and I think he needs to complete all of those programs before he should be considered for release. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Craig, do you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Would you tell me about the aggravated burglary that you were arrested on?
Yes, sir. I was 17 years old in 2016, and me and my step-grandfather got into a very bad argument. We used to have a lot of family problems due to the fact that a lot of evidence came up while I was younger of him sexually abusing my Down syndrome mother. And I let my anger and my stupidity and my immaturity get the best of me, and I broke down his door. I should have never done it because to this day, since I was incarcerated, I lost him. And he was like a father figure to me. And it's sad that I wasn't able to see him while he was at his lowest before he passed away. And I think about that a lot because I feel like if I would have never done that, I would have never been here, but there's no telling. And I really am sorry about that, but he's not here for me to tell him that.
Were there any weapons involved in that?
No, sir, not in that aggravated burglary. It was just me kicking the door down.
Okay.
Yes,
And then in this last instance, you pled guilty to 2 things on a kind of a plea bargain, correct?
2 things. I apologize. I pled guilty to aggravated criminal damage to property, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, and possession of a firearm with obliterated serial code.
Okay, 3 things. And you received 2 5-year sentences, but to run concurrent, correct?
Yes. Well, all of them are running concurrent with each other.
Right. And so far you've served how much time?
3 years.
Okay, so you hadn't even served the 5 years.
Well, I'm sorry, a little bit over 3 years because February 3rd made 3 years that's completed off of my sentence. So about 3.5 years, I'm assuming.
Okay. All right, that's all I need to know.
Thank you,
All right, yes, sir.
Mrs. Stapleton. You're on mute still.
Government. Okay, gotcha.
There you
Speaking of old people, shame on you. I'm probably the age of your grandmother. Listen,
Good morning, ma'am.
I'm one of those old folks out here. So listen, I want to continue on where Mr. Prater was talking. And so it's 5 years consecutive. Is that correct? That's right. Total of
No,
it would be
concurrent.
50. I mean, concurrent. If it was
Yes, ma'am.
consecutive, it would have been 15 years.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to tell you something. They call you Tally. Is that what they call you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, listen, Tally. You're headed down a path with no end. One of these days, if you keep this up, we're going to see a life sentence for you. So if you think this is bad, it's nothing to what you're headed for. And you're doing great in the programs, and you seem to understand them well. And it sounds like you probably came from a very good, loving home life. That's what I'm thinking.
Yes.
And they want
Yes.
you home. Now,
Yes,
listen,
ma'am.
are you and the mother of your two daughters, is that the same mother, and are you together?
No, they're not the same mother of my daughters, and I am together with the mother of my youngest daughter.
Okay, so that's the one that we had the you got a charge against you because you said it was a heated argument.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
then the phone got thrown. Was the
Yes,
phone
ma'am.
thrown because she was fixing to call 911 and turn you
No,
into the police?
the phone was thrown at first because I asked for my keys, and then whenever she picked the phone up, I jerked the phone out of her hand. That's the whole complete thing. And they hit me. They charged the extra charge with it, which was the child endangerment, was because my daughter was in the room when it all occurred.
Yeah, well, that's what that is. That's what that's about.
Yes.
There's children present. So
Yes,
to
ma'am.
go there for her because she's still with you, I noticed she didn't call in today. Is there a reason for that?
She's at work today.
Oh, she's at work. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you know, we see a lot of this with the violence in other areas of a person's life, whether it be male or female, and they're in jail or prison. So violence at home is commonplace, and violence around the children is commonplace. But I would hope that she would get some domestic violence counseling also, so that she can understand the dynamics. So I'm sure that in the area where y'all live, there is a domestic violence shelter, and all of these counseling sessions are free for you and her when you get out. So it looks like this living in balance is doing a lot to going in that direction. What it
Yes, ma'am.
sounds like anyway. I wish I actually had domestic violence intervention there, because that's a different program. Do you have it there?
Yes, ma'am. We have anger management here, domestic violence here, accepting responsibility here as well, and parenting inside and out. And I'll be taking those my
Good.
last 3 months. Yes, ma'am.
You'll be taking those when? I'm sorry.
My last 3 months in the program.
In the program
I'm-
that you're at Steve Hoyle? Is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
ma'am.
Great.
Yes, ma'am.
That's really good news. That's fantastic. Well, you're on the right path, and everybody's concerned about you because you're a young man, and we don't want to see you the way we see other people, and we sure don't want your family to be inflicted with any more domestic violence. I'm saying we, I should say I guess I should say. Those are my only questions, and I'm very glad that you're in the programs, and you seem to understand well what the programs are about. So just
Yes,
take them
ma'am.
home with you when you leave there. I'm
Yes, sir.
finished.
Thank you. You have a good day. Thank you
You
for your
too.
time.
I think we now have Fletcher by the phone, or able to get her phone. So, Miss Maria, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, ma'am. What is it you'd like us to know?
Can you say again?
What would you like
I
it?
speak too much English and I'm very nervous right now.
That's okay. What do you want to tell us about Neptali?
What I want to say about him?
Yes.
He's very good. Happiness. He's just what's going wrong with the other people, you know. He's really quiet and he's to me care about me, about helping us. So he's very good person.
Well, yes, ma'am. I'm glad we were able to get you by phone. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I wish you would be here with me to finish to take care of me.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. All right, Natalie, is there anything at all you'd like to say to us to wrap it up for us before we vote?
To the people's home that I shot up, I want to say I'm really sorry. I really am sorry. I didn't mean for my actions to do all this. I'm sorry for what I did, regardless of why I feel like I did it. I take full responsibility for what I did. And if you guys do grant me my parole to please just at least let me finish the program so I can get all necessary tools so I won't have to come back and go through this all over again. I thank y'all for your time and consideration, and I just hope that you guys can put it in your heart to let me go when I complete the program. I'm sorry. I just heard my grandmother's voice.
Yeah. Well, you're fortunate to have her support. Mr. Altamirano, I think we're prepared to vote. I'll be voting first. You know, I am, as I said, I'm very encouraged by the things that you've said today about what you're getting out of that program. It's the best we have to offer as a state. I would not let you go before you complete the program. And I kind of want to just, because of some of the things that the district attorney said and were recognized also by Mr. Prater, you made a deal with the district attorney on your sentence. And so based on the opposition that's been expressed by the district attorney's office, the opposition that we have in the record from the victim of the aggravated damage, Ms. Alvarado, my vote today is going to be to deny your parole, with the encouragement that you apply yourself, continue with the program, learn everything you can. You're going to have an opportunity to ask us again for another parole, but I would not consider it until after. So my vote today is deny, but right back, we'll send you a note and tell you right back and ask for another hearing.
Thank you. I appreciate your time and consideration, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Mr. Prater?
Yes, I vote to deny parole for the same reasons that you stated.
And Mrs. Stapleton?
My vote is for the same reason, Ms. Renata.
All right, Neptali, you got some work to do. Apply yourself. We'll see you again, I hope soon.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good day.
Okay. We're going to sign off at Bossier. It is 10:21. Thanks for helping us out today.
Can I just have a second? This is one.
Okay.
All right, good morning. Committee on Parole is now reconvening. We're at Ouachita Parish Correctional Center at 10:28 a.m. on Tuesday, June 18, 2024. And I think Mr. Whitlock, good morning.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me ask the staff there in the room with you to introduce themselves, please, for the record.
Good morning, Deputy Marchand, Ouachita Parish.
All right, thank you, Deputy Marchand, once again for accommodating us. We appreciate it. Mr. Whitlock, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
My name is Stephen Whitlock, Stephen Adam Whitlock Jr. My DOC number 451374, ma'am.
All right, thank you, sir. And let me introduce the parole panel to you. My name is Cheryl Renanza. I'm serving as chair of your parole panel today. You see on the screen my colleagues, Mrs. Carolyn Stapleton, Mr. Steve Prater. We're here for a revocation decision. I see you have a parole revocation questionnaire there in your hand.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that your signature at the bottom of that page?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So based on that information, Mr. Whitlock, you're not eligible for appointed counsel this morning. Are you ready to proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, I'm going to read the allegations against you. You'll enter a plea of guilty or not guilty, and then we'll have a conversation about it. Your case has been assigned to Mr. Prater, so once we finish with the plea, I'll turn it over to him so he can ask you some questions, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Whitlock, you're accused of violating the conditions of your parole, specifically condition number 2. You last reported on June 6, 2023. How do you plead to violating condition number 2?
You said I last reported when?
June 6, 2023.
Not guilty, ma'am.
Okay, then condition number 4, and it says, you were arrested on December 16, 2023 by the Ouachita Parish Sheriff's Office for committing the offense of battery of a dating partner and interfering with emergency communications. The offenses occurred on or about August 6, 2023. On April 29, 2024, you pled guilty to interfering with emergency communication. The charge of battery of a dating partner was dismissed. You were sentenced to 5 months in the Ouachita Parish Jail with credit for time served. So how do you plead to violating condition number 4?
Right, condition number not guilty, ma'am.
All right, and last we have condition number 10, and it says you are $4,007 behind on your supervision fees. The last time you made a payment was on April 1st, 2023 by the tax intercept program in the amount of $10. So how do you plead to violating number 10?
I plead guilty on that, ma'am.
Okay. Would you answer Mr. Prater's questions, please, sir?
Yes.
Good morning. Tell me about the first charge, number 2, that you failed to report from June of 2023 to December of 2023. Did you talk to or go by or did you go by the office, or did your probation parole officer come to see you during that 6-month period?
He'll come to see me, but he sent me to a dating reporting center. I told him I needed help because I couldn't find a job, and I had a newborn, and she had something wrong. It was something wrong. She couldn't. Her mama is handicapped, so I had to take care of my newborn. And I called him. I always call him when something go wrong, and we had a very good bond that I wasn't trying to run from him, but he sent me to the dating reporting center, and I graduated. Well, I ain't graduated. I did anger management. I did parenting. I did 6 classes, and the whole time it took me 8 months to graduate. And the main thing he told me, make sure that I complete these classes because I thought that it's gonna make me better, so I can get me a job and take care of my newborn. So,
when were those classes?
Sir,
when were those classes?
I started in March and got my certificate in November. I got my certificate in November, and it's supposed to be a certificate that's supposed to be emailed y'all a certificate of my I graduate next month. I graduate next month on the 15th, but I got a certificate. They probably sent y'all email showing that I was reporting to the classes. And when I was reporting to the classes, the parole people was coming up there, and I was telling the parole woman to tell my parole officer that I'm here in classes and stuff. So that's why I never had no warrant out for my arrest, because I was doing right and trying to make sure I complete these classes for them. And I felt like that I was doing right because I got something out the classes, and the people there helped me learn how to get a job. And now that I got a job waiting on me, when I come home, whenever I come home, my brother Timothy Whitlock, he's a contractor, and he paint Section 8 houses, and I got a good job to help me pay my parole fees. And only reason why I really wasn't paying because I was getting an SSI check, and I had reapplied back for my SSI, and I ain't want to try to start working and because I stopped getting my check when I turned 18, my SSI check, sir. And I feel like that as long as I was going to them classes, I thought I was doing right, but I ain't know idea I had to, because most of the time that I'm in the classes, I had to report to him, but the officer be up and down, let the officer know that, tell my parole officer I'm in class that, you know, that I got a couple more months before I graduate. But I got my certificate. Sir.
Okay. Let me interrupt you just a second. So what, if I understand what you're saying, you were going to classes that you had been ordered to go to.
Yes, sir.
But that your parole officer didn't know you were going to these classes.
He knows, sir. He knows, sir. But he know I was going to the classes, but he always told when I call him, tell him about my baby, I can't go to class today because my baby's sick and I gotta go to LSU with her. And he'll tell me just, when you come back, make sure you go back and sign back in, because we had a sign-in sheet. So I signed in for 8 months straight, sir. And I got a certificate that I probably graduating next month on the 15th, sir.
Well, there's a disconnect somewhere, but let's move on.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's move on to the count of battery of a dating partner and the count of interfering with emergency communications. Both of those I realize are misdemeanors, but you pled guilty to the interfering with a communication. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I didn't want to. Yes, sir. I had pled guilty.
Okay, well, tell me about the whole incident where y'all got into a scuffle or an argument or whatever it is. Tell me about that.
Well, my girlfriend, I was she helped me with my baby, and I was, you know what I'm saying, trying to leave my baby mama alone to kind of get with her, and I was just letting her know I was for the leave, and she was upset because she didn't want me to go back around with my baby mama. So I called 911, and when I called 911, I did it for a scare tech to scare her so I can go out the door. And when I called 911, as soon as they answered, I just hung the phone up, sir, and she moved from out of the door. So she was upset. I felt that's the only way I can get out without, you know, put my hands on her, you know, because I did these classes that I learned that I ain't got to put my hands on. And so I just, you know, she did was upset and mad because I was trying to go back around with my baby mama, and we had the incident happen, and you know, it wasn't no hitting or no fighting. It was just me trying to get out the door, and I really apologize about it. Y'all, you know, I'm not trying to just tell y'all on anything. I'm telling the truth, and God honest truth, and I love her, and we got no bad blood. It was just something that in a moment, you know, and she is on the screen. If y'all want to ask her any question, it wasn't no hard. It wasn't no really no battery. It just when she called, she was upset because I was going back around her with my baby mama. That's all, sir.
Okay. Well, tell me about the money deal. You owed $4,000.
Yes, sir. When I turned 18, they cut me off my SSI, and since I had a newborn baby coming in the world, I had tried to sign back up for it, and they said you sign back up for it, you can't work there, mess with your SSI. So I asked my parole officer for some help, tell them that I couldn't get a job, and the man that be there, the workforce man, he was trying to help me get a job and stuff, and so I can pay out my parole fees, and I just was trying to do right, sir.
How much a month do you have to pay for parole?
I had to pay $75, sir.
And to get up to $4,000, that's a number of months, isn't it?
What it is that it takes 6 months at a time. I signed up for my check, and then take 6 months for them to deny me, and then I signed back up again. So I went on put in my head, I'm telling my parole officer that I need help so I can try to find me a job there, because I can't see out of one eye, and it always affect me when I'm working or something. If somebody bump me, I might try to, whatever, it always affect me. So my brother, Timothy Whitlock, he have his own, he a contract, he got his own painting service, and he do Robson Place and Newtown, and he told me if I come home, I got a job, and I really need the job so I can pay my parole fee, and I got a newborn out there. Well, she 1 year old now. That's all I gotta say.
Okay, have you had any job? Okay, let's go. What are you on parole about?
I've been on parole ever since 2003.
For what?
Conspiracy to commit an armed robbery. My homeboy had robbed somebody, and he told me about it, and I didn't call the police.
Okay, and so that was in 2003?
2000, sorry about that, 2015, sir.
2015. So you got, what kind of sentence did you get?
I get 27 years all, 27 years all but 3, because I did 3 years in jail, 24 years on parole when I got out. So I stayed on the street. I stayed on the street 6 years. So before I got in trouble.
And so I don't understand. That's just because you knew about an armed robbery?
Yes, sir. He told the people that I know about it, and he had told me when he gave me some money or something when he robbed up, he came and told me and gave me some money, and I had denied the situation, but he got 30 years and I got 27 years, and I did 8 years and 6 months. They let me out 2018, and I've been home ever since 2018.
Have you had a job since 2018?
Yes, sir. It was cleaning people. It was cleaning people's houses. I was cleaning people's houses, and I had my own like little cleaning service. Like if somebody need their house clean, I go clean their house. But for us, I ain't have a good job until my brother got his own. He a contractor, so he let me this kind of come work with him every once in a while, and until I get the hang of it, because like I said, I can't see out one eye, and sometimes I turn over and knock the bucket of paint over, and that's paint that he ain't been paid for, so he kind of like come and get me every once in a while.
Okay, that's all I got.
All right, Ms. Stapleton, I don't
Oh,
see that.
I didn't raise my hand. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I just want to ask you a question. Your stories in every single case, they don't really match what the other people say. Like you're saying about Miss Tatum, that y'all are good friends and everything like that. Well, when she tells her story, she said that you really did knock her out of the way. that she was the one that called 911, not you, the way that you tell the story.
Yes, sir. Yes,
And,
ma'am.
and then she follows up with the fact that she says that I'm writing to inform the board that y'all did have an argument and that you did shove me out of the way, and because once my new boyfriend had walked into the apartment. Yeah. And so it's Mr. Whitlock she's saying you're not a threat to her and she's not afraid. So y'all are no longer together. Miss Tatum is no longer your girlfriend. Is that correct or no?
She's my girl. She's my girlfriend, ma'am.
So what's this about? Once my new boyfriend had walked into my apartment after Mr. Whitlock had dialed 911 and left out of the apartment and left his phone there.
Ma'am, I called 911 because when we was in the house, I was ready to go back around and check on my baby. And at the time, she was, kind of was drinking a little bit, but she was kind of, she didn't want me to go. So on the way I can get out the door, ma'am, when I seen her, well, there was her ex-boyfriend she was going with when he came in the door. So that kind of like scared me for to run out the door. You know what I'm saying? So that's why the shoving part came, but I didn't really like shoving. Like she by the door when he opened the door, that means she go back out the door a little bit. So I kind of forced myself out the door. It wasn't no hitting or no grabbing. It was just me just trying to hurry and get out the door before I get in more trouble. That's all it was, man.
And her statement to police was, Mr. Whitlock has been physically assaulting me for about 2 months.
Yes, ma'am. She said she only said it out of anger because she didn't want me to go back home to my baby mama, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I'm going to get back to what Mr. Prater was talking about. All right, the SSI. They tell you if you work, you can't get well, if you get any paycheck, and I know you can earn up to a certain amount per month and still get your SSI.
Yes, ma'am.
So, but you have been saying that you've been working on and off. You were saying that, and then you talked about another job, and during that time you made no payments whatsoever towards.
Yes, man. I made a pay. I told the parole man that I needed help when I first came to that's the whole reason why he put me in a program so I can get smarter and better at what I was doing. Like I really was trying to pay my parole, and I really wanted to do better because I had a newborn out there and I wasn't trying to not pay him. I know in my heart I was trying to make sure that my family was great. That, only reason why I was saying he would come and pick me up on and off because it was stuff that I couldn't do, and he'll just give me a couple of dollars, man, and a couple of dollars I have got to buy Pampers and stuff with it, man. That's all.
I understand. Well, let me ask you this. You said about attending the classes. You said that there were times you didn't go because you had to take the baby to the doctor.
Yes, ma'am.
So you didn't. So the classes were on and off, and that was okay with them. I mean, you could miss class and then just make it up the next time.
I can't miss class. If I miss class, they call my parole officer. I had to call them and let them know I got my baby sick and she got to go to the hospital. So they'll tell me bring an excuse back with me when I come back to class, ma'am. But
how many times did that happen?
That happened like 3 times, and the whole 3 times I brought the excuse back. But I made sure that the whole 8 months we had to go to class Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I made that I got there and I made sure that I completed that program and did, because that's what he told me I had to do, and I did right. I think I did right by him, but I had a misunderstanding about when I'm in class. I ain't know what to do. I'm in class, and I gotta go see my parole man. And by the time I finish my class, and when the bus take us home, the parole place be closed, and
it's after hours.
Yes, ma'am. And but the officers were there, the parole people was there, become checking on the other people that I let them know that let my parole officer know that I'm in class. That's why he never put on warrant out for my arrest. You know what I'm saying? Because I was going to class. He told me to do right and make sure that I go to class, or he gonna have to get me because it's the woman over him, you know what I'm saying? So I made sure that I was doing right, and
Okay.
I feel good.
All right. Well, that's all the questions that I have for you.
Thank
I
you.
just do, Mr. Whitlock, see a note, an entry in the parole officer's narrative log dated November 29th of 23, and it was an email from the Day Reporting Center that said, you enrolled there March 20th, 23. You had a case manager, you attended the program over 90% of the time, completed required groups, parenting, life skills, and job readiness, had negative drug screens throughout your time in the program, and you were successfully discharged November 29th, 23, because you successfully completed the requirements. So I do see that in the record. We do have Ms. Tatum here. I see Ms. Tatum. Is there anything you'd like us to know?
Hey, how you doing? Yes, the incident with me and him when we was the shoving and all that, it was just a simple accident. I was mad because he was trying to leave, but since then we've been talking and trying to work things out, and I do want him to come home. It's nothing more, just a simple accident, and it shouldn't have happened, and I shouldn't have got mad and called the police on him.
All right, thank you.
Good.
Mr. Whitlock, anything else you want to say to us before we vote?
Yes, ma'am. And the whole time I had to do my homework and stuff. She was there with me on her computer, making sure that I did my homework for the Day Reporting Center, and I felt good because I never had.
Yep.
I never had a woman that helped me, you know. God bless them.
All right.
So,
Okay. Well, thank you, sir. I think we're prepared to vote. Mr. Prater will be voting first.
All right, this is I'm kind of troubled by all of this because there seems to be an answer for everything, but the truth of the matter is you pled guilty to something, which I didn't much think was appropriate. You know, I think that you are behind, and I think that you are behind in your money, that you did plead guilty to something. I think that the failure to report that seems like that could be understandable. So I'm kind of conflicted about what to do with you. Really, I think it'd be appropriate to spend some more time in there, but I don't think it'd be appropriate to completely revoke you. And so I'm going to I'm going to vote to grant your parole, and I'm going to see if there's any kind of, or excuse me, not revoke you, and see if there's any other kinds of things that we can do. And I'll yield to the chairman to maybe put some stipulations on there for us.
thank you, sir.
Ms. Stapleton? Look, I'll go ahead and cast my vote. I would recommend, along with what Mr. Prater said, that in lieu of revocation, send you to a work release program for a period of time. That would help get you some good job skills. Once you put some money in your pocket, I believe it would do you some good. That's what I would recommend. Mrs. Stapleton?
She on pause.
Okay, now can y'all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, thank goodness. Yes, I agree with Ms. Renata, and I agree with Mr. Prater. I have a lot of problems with this, and you really, in a lot of ways, had a super good record, and that's what we're looking for prior to all of this. And so I agree with the recommendations of Chairman Renata, and agree to grant those recommendations.
So do you concur, Mr. Prater, with the work release?
Yes, I concur. I think that's a great suggestion. Thank you for making it.
So, Mr. Whitlock, do you understand what we're trying to do?
No, well, not really. I just know work release. I know what that is. No, ma'am.
So rather than totally revoke you and send you back to prison, we want to send you to a work release program for a period of at least 6 months.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you'll do work release, take whatever programs may be available to you at that facility, and then return you back to supervision.
Yes, ma'am.
That'll help you get some job skills and get some money to help support your daughter.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So that's our decision today. We're going to send you some information on it. We wish you well. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
Do not revoke conditionally.
All right, we are back in regular session, ready to proceed. And is this Randy?
Yes, ma'am.
You introduce yourself. Tell us your name and DOC number.
Hi, my name is Randy Blakely, DOC number 739-522.
Yes, Ms. Blakely. My name is Cheryl Renatza. My colleagues on the panel, you can see them on your screen. Mrs. Carolyn Stapleton, Mr. Steve Prater. I'm going to read some identifying information into the record, Ms. Blakely, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Prater. Your case has been assigned to him. He'll take the lead on the parole interview.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So, Blakely, you're classified as a second felony offender. You're currently serving a 12-year, 6-month sentence. You were sentenced in St. James Parish, March of 22, for distribution of methamphetamines and violating the CDS law and a drug possession. You have a parole eligibility date, which is October 18, 2024, and your good time release date is January 17 of 2026. Does all that sound correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Would you answer Mr. Prater's questions, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
I wanted to go over a little bit about your history because what I see is just drugs. And see what all you've done to correct that situation and see if it's been sufficient to convince us that possibly you have changed. Start from the beginning rather than me read notes and say which times and what dates you were charged and where. Why don't you start? Let's see what you recall.
Okay, my drug addiction began after my parents passed away. Once that happened, then I ended up hanging around with the wrong crowds, dropped out of school. And I can't really say it was the right reasons, but it was the only way I had to deal with my grief from losing both my parents at such a young age. Then I started to really become addicted and a real user. And at one point and one time when I got my first charge, it was actually, how can I explain this? I was messing up. I had no way of looking at life. I couldn't find a job. And then when I got my first conviction, when I was released, I attempted to find a job in my hometown parish, ended up hanging around with the same people, same places, same things, and ended up once again getting caught up in the same lifestyle. Since then, I've been arrested a few times, and I finally came to the realization that this isn't the lifestyle that I would like to fulfill. I attended rehab and 4 months of sober living before this recent incarceration.
Okay, so you were arrested in September of 2015, February 2018, June of 2019, looks like January of 20, and then of course that wasn't a drug charge in June of 21, but then this latest one in 22, and you got 12 years sentence, is that correct?
Yes, sir. 12 and a half.
12 and a half years, and you served a total of 2 years and 3 months. So you hadn't really got started good on it. Although you do have a parole eligibility date coming up, in just a few months. But what have you, my computer cut out or something. What happened to your parents? I'm sorry.
Both my parents passed away when I was very young.
Okay.
And I raised my 2 younger siblings for as long as I could.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm sorry. Sorry you had to go through all of that. Okay. Now tell me what you've done since you've been incarcerated that's going to convince us that you have found the light. You've seen the light at the end of the tunnel, and you're not going to be involved in drugs any longer.
Since I've been incarcerated, I still continue my big book study. I also attend Bible study regularly. I've isolated myself from the people that I used to associate with. I have no desire of even communicating with them anymore. I have no desire to return back to my hometown. I intend to stay up here and continue to hold the job that I've acquired from work release, and just not even be associated with my old lifestyle at all.
All right, I noticed, and it's kind of unusual, but the DA, the sheriff, and the judge, or a judge, I don't know if this is the sentencing judge, but they all thought that maybe you needed to spend some more time in jail to make sure that you were on the right path. What do you think about that?
At this point, I think whatever choice, I agree completely with the sentence that I am serving. Now, I do believe that I have changed, but I do, by all means, would like to prove not only to myself, but to everyone else that I have changed. So whatever decision is made, I'm gonna willingly accept it and continue moving forward from this point on.
What kind of support system do you have if you were granted parole?
My work colleagues, my boss, they all support me very well. I have sent a couple character letters in with my previous parole packet from my boss, my supervisor, and actually the lady over work release that I'm now participating in. My boss will help me find a apartment or such in a very decent neighborhood. They will help me continue to grow into my position at the place where I work.
Okay. Well, I commend you for the good work that you've done and the attitude that you have, that you're going to accept whatever's, willingly accept whatever our decision is. And I appreciate that. And I'm sorry about your parents and the rough life that you've had. But that doesn't exonerate you from being held accountable for the violations of the law and the people's lives that you impacted by selling them drugs. And
Yes,
so anyway, that's all I have, Chairman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Prater. Where do you work?
Neighbor's Cookie Dough Factory in West Monroe, Louisiana.
And you've been in work release for about a year, a little over a year?
Yes, ma'am.
The same job?
I was laid off for downtime in business, but I was called back as soon as the business picked back up. And since then, I have actually been promoted from a regular production operator to a quality assurance technician. I've gotten an increase in pay twice since then.
You mentioned siblings earlier, that you raised your siblings for a while, for as long as you could. Do you still have a relationship with them now today?
No, ma'am. With the choices that I made, they actually refuse to have any relationship with me at this present time.
So you don't have any family? Except you don't have any family?
No, I have an older brother and an older sister that I very rarely speak to, but other than that, no, ma'am.
Okay, all right. I don't see any other questions. Is there a staff member there in the room with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, is there anything you can share with us about Ms. Blakely?
Since she's been here with us, she has no incidents or disciplinary or any notes on her record. And Sergeant May of Women's Work Release highly commends her.
Good. All right. Well, thanks. We appreciate that. Anything you want to say to us, Ms. Blakely, before we vote?
I actually have a letter I wrote, if it would be okay with y'all if I read it.
Go ahead.
My name is Randi Blakely. I have been incarcerated for 2.5 years. I am currently housed with OCC Work Release. During my time I have been incarcerated, I have realized the wrongs I have done, and by no means I want to go back down that road. I was in the wrong at the time and should have never been distributing drugs in a drug-free zone, let alone anywhere else, because it wasn't worth my freedom. The things we tend to do in life always has a reaction. I pray that today I am allowed to have a second chance to not only prove to myself, but prove to others that I can and I have learned from my mistakes. Thank you for your consideration and my parole eligibility date.
All right. Well, thank you. I think that we are ready to vote. Mr. Prater will be voting first.
Yes, ma'am. I think you've done very, very well, but due to the opposition from the folks that made the case and the ones that judge the case or that are knowledgeable of the case, I'm not ready after just serving 2 years of a 12-year, 6-month plea bargain to allow you out. I'd like to see some more some drug rehab work done and some serious work about that in jail before I vote for parole. And so for those reasons, at this point, I'm going to deny it, but I want to encourage you to apply again as soon as you can, and let's reconsider. But I want to see some more drug work before I vote to accept your parole.
Yes, sir.
Mrs. Stapleton?
Yes, ma'am. Well, Randy, I agree with everything that my colleague said, Mr. Prater, and I do agree to encourage you to continue where the path that you're taking with your classes. You had some good things from the people that are involved in your life right now, but you do need more to serve more time on your sentence. And of course, the drug charges were very serious and they go back a long time. So all the drug treatment that you can get will only do you good later. So my vote today is going to be to deny you due to strong opposition from the DA and law enforcement, and you just need to serve more time on your sentence.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Ms. Lee, I'm encouraged by your attitude. I'm encouraged and pleased that you had the opportunity for work release, and that seems to have made quite a difference in your life, giving you purpose, and you've created a family, a work family. I agree with my colleagues, and I agree with the opposition that, that you made the plea deal. You said you totally agree with your 12.5-year sentence, and that's a deal you made to avoid the habitual offender bill. I do agree you need to serve a little more time. Show us you can continue to do well. Don't let this denial be a setback. You'll have the opportunity to reapply for another parole hearing. And we encourage you to do that just as soon as you can. We'll send you information on when you're eligible to do that. So good luck. Today your parole's been denied. We want to see you again as soon as we can. Good luck.
Thank you. Letitia, we're ready to you.
I do not, but I can get you.
Please.
All right, we're back in session and we are ready for Ms. Cambridge. Is that you?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number, please.
Melissa Cambridge, 441-859.
All right, Ms. Cambridge, my name is Cheryl Renatza. My colleagues on the panel today, you can see on the screen, Mrs. Carolyn Stapleton, Mr. Steve Prater. We also have joining us today by Zoom, your niece Kristen and your daughter Jasmine. Both of you want to speak on your behalf.
Yes, ma'am.
First, I'll read some identifying information into the record. We'll conduct our parole interview with you. We'll hear from the staff there. We'll hear from your family members, and you'll be allowed at the end, if you want, to make a statement before we go.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Ms. Cambridge, you are classified as a 5th felony offender. You're currently serving a 15-year sentence. You were sentenced in April of 2021, possession of methamphetamines, aggravated obstruction of highway, and a 4th operating a vehicle while intoxicated offense. Your parole eligibility date is July 1st, 2024, and your good time release date is September 3rd, 2025. Does all that sound right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Your case has been assigned to Mr. Prater. Would you answer his questions?
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I wanted to go over a little bit of, won't take a long time doing this, but it seemed like you've had quite a few arrests and being a 5th felony offender. Of course, you know, you'd have to agree to that. A lot of them involve DWIs, drugs, and you know, a couple of times injuring people while I assume you were driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs. Is that correct?
No, sir. I've never injured anyone. I've never had an accident in any of my DWIs. I've never injured anyone.
Okay. I saw a 1st-degree vehicle injury arrest on 10 of 2020. What was that about?
That wasn't in a DWI. I don't know what that was whenever there was I wasn't convicted of that as far as I know. That it was just in a car accident that I had, but I did not get a DWI. I was not intoxicated in that wreck. I turned into the wrong lane. That was not a DWI.
But you were charged with 1st-degree vehicle injury. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir. That's what I'm saying. It was not with a DWI though. It was just an accident that I had.
Just a coincidence.
Well, no, not a coincidence. I'm just saying that it was just an accident that I had. I'm just saying that wasn't DWI, but yes, I guess I was charged with that.
Yes, because 1 month earlier you were charged with your 4th DWI. Is that correct?
1 month after that, I think.
Okay, well, I must have written it down wrong.
Yes, sir. I believe so.
Okay. Let's see here. And then there was another injury. I thought, but maybe it was just the obstruction of a highway. Anyway, you've been on probation or parole or probation a number of times, and it looks like in each time you were revoked for some reason. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So that shows me that you're having trouble following the rules. And then this last time you were sentenced to 15 years in jail, and that was in 2021. And so you've only served 3 years of a 15-year sentence. Is that correct?
Almost 4, yes, sir. I think 3 months shy of 4 years.
Okay. How many times have you been arrested for DWI?
4.
Okay. All right, Madam Chairman, that's all I have.
Stapleton?
Yes, I do have a comment. Yes, ma'am. I know what Mr. Prater was talking about on 7/30 of 2020. It reads, this is arrest and offense report synopsis. Officers responded to a head-on traffic crash located at the intersection of Pontchartrain Drive. a sergeant in Slidell, Louisiana. Upon arrival at the scene and a subsequent search of Miss Cambridge's vehicle, officers located a glass smoking device, small amounts of marijuana, heroin, and methamphetamines. So that's what he was talking about.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Does that jog your memory?
Yes, ma'am. I just wasn't, all I was saying was that I wasn't charged with a DWI at that arrest. That was that was the only thing that I was saying, but yes. No,
Yeah, well, that was lucky you, huh? Because
well, yes,
there's
ma'am.
some problems there.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
and on 9/30 of 2020, here's another one. Deputies were dispatched to a report of a suspicious vehicle located on Bel Air Boulevard in Slidell. When the deputies arrived, Ms. Cambridge was alone in her vehicle with the radio turned up very loudly and the vehicle's transmission was in drive. Deputies were able to wake Ms. Cambridge to get her to place the vehicle in park and to begin their investigation. Ms. Cambridge was observed to have bloodshot eyes and glassy eyes, extremely slurred speech, and was using the vehicle to steady herself to stand. Ms. Cambridge told the investigating officers that she had had multiple health problems, which made her unable to complete a physical sobriety test. So the officers gave her a HGN test for intoxicated drivers. Ms. Cambridge failed the HGN test and was placed under arrest for DWI. Once Ms. Cambridge was at the Slidell LEC, she was being booked. She stated to the arresting officers, "I probably shouldn't have been driving."
Yes, ma'am.
So, you know you're a danger to society.
I mean,
the reason is any one of the times you've been arrested for DWI, that's not all the times probably that's happened. And at any point there could have been a homicide involved. So that's what makes drugs and alcohol a danger to society, because it does affect other people eventually. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. You're in work release now? Ms.
Yes,
Cambridge?
ma'am.
And
Yes,
you've been for about a year?
Yes, ma'am.
Where do you work?
I work at Sonic.
You've had the same job?
Yes, ma'am. I've had the same job since I've been here.
Okay. And you, whenever you are released, whether it's on parole or good time, what's your plan?
Well, to go back home to my home, and I have a life partner of 13 years, and I have a safe home environment that's drug-free, and go back to work. And I'm also in Ashland University. I've been in that since I've been in here, so I plan to continue with schooling and
stay sober.
And that's what I'm saying. And to get back into AA and NA, which, I mean, my downfall this time was losing my job during COVID and getting unemployment and having nothing to do and just not dealing and stopping doing the things that I had been doing, which was going to AA and NA and staying,
Right.
I mean,
even during COVID, they had those meetings everywhere.
Right. No, I know. That's what I'm saying. And after I lost my job and started hanging around the wrong people, and but I mean, I would love to be able to go back to outpatient, which is they communicate with probation and parole. They do random drug screens, and it's about an 8 to 12 month program that's outpatient where I can work and go there.
Okay. So I'm glad to hear that you've given some thought to what your plans are. We'd like to hear from your supporters. Could we hear first from Jasmine, your daughter?
Hi.
Go ahead. What would you like us to know?
I just truly believe that my mom is ready to be reintroduced into society. She has a huge support system, many of which aren't here right now. But she said, she has her partner who is a wonderful influence on her. My sister, Kristen, who's here today, are partners that are all ready to be there to support her. I've been around through my mom through all of this, and I think that this time is different. I can just tell that she's ready to, be serious about treatment and have a direction, continue with school and all of that stuff. And I would like to see her be able to come home.
Thanks for telling us those things. We'd be glad to hear from you today.
Thank you.
Kristen Vince.
Hey, good morning. So I am Melissa's niece, like a daughter. So I've grown up with her. I mean, she helped raise me. I am, just like Jasmine said, I truly believe that she's ready. And I am an LPC, I'm a licensed professional counselor, and we do have the history of addiction that's dominant in our family. And she's lost a lot of loved ones. And because, this is the consecutive sentences, and she's always, she's done her time. I do believe that this time now is ready. She's ready. She wants to attend university. She wants to get into an outpatient program. I live in Texas, but our hospital has numerous substance abuse outpatient programs that's with co-occurring disorders, mental health issues. So I'm going to do whatever I can do to support her and make sure that she's, compliant and productive and not a danger to society. Maybe before, but I don't believe that at all now. And I truly believe in my heart that she's ready.
Good. Well, thank you. She's fortunate to have your support. Ms. Cambridge, is there anything you'd like to say before we vote?
I don't know. I mean, I have a letter here from Sergeant May. I don't know if y'all want me to read it, and I have my transcript from Ashland University. And I just want to say that this 4 years, I've never been away from my family more than 11 months. And this 4 years has been the hardest lesson I've ever learned. But I assure you, I have learned my lesson. I will never, ever put myself in a situation again to be taken away from my daughters, my only grandchild, my partner of 13 years again. I've missed some monumental. I missed my middle daughter graduating college. I missed my baby daughter starting college. I will never, I assure you that I've learned my lesson, and I will never put myself in a situation. And I know what it takes to stay clean because I've had several years of clean time. So I know what it takes to stay clean, and I know exactly where I went wrong and what brought me back down this road. And I will not repeat those things. But I don't know if you want me to read this letter, or if you don't want me to read it, or.
I think we have a copy of it in the record. Is there a staff member there in the room with you?
Yes, sir. Yes, there's
whatever they have to say about you. Go ahead.
Since she's been here with us at Ouachita, no incidents, no disciplinaries, highly recommended by Sergeant May. But the classes I believe she would need, we don't offer at our facility. And so if that was what the board was leading towards, she would need to be transferred. I just want to make you all aware of that.
All right, good. Thank you. We appreciate that. All right, Ms. Cambridge, I think that we are prepared to vote, and Mr. Prager will be voting first.
So I appreciate everything that everyone has said in favor of her getting her parole. However, when I think about the fact she's had 4 DWIs already, really the obstruction of the highway should have been a DWI. The accident where someone was injured or the head-on, that should have been a DWI. So having said all of that, the fact that she has failed so many times with having her probation revoked, that I don't, in good conscience, representing the people of Louisiana, I can't in good conscience vote to have her released at this point on parole.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Prater. Ms. Stapleton?
Yes, ma'am. Can you see me? Okay, what I'd like to say to you, Melissa, is that clearly you have a loving family. And I was so impressed with the fact that your daughter Kristen and is fixing to go to college, and your other daughter is fixing to graduate or already has graduated college. So as a mother, you've done a good job. And Jasmine, she said you're like a mother to her in Texas, and that they offer many things in Texas. I listened to with the warden at the where you're at right now spoke about you needing more classes that's not offered for you. And I sure hope we can get those classes for you, because I want you to be a success. As far as the drugs, that is a disease that many people in America suffer from. And as you know, you've missed a lot of things and your family misses you too. So I want you to be a success. And I don't ever want one of these DWIs turn into a homicide, or you can't take those things back. And that's one of these things that we deal with a lot of woulda, shoulda, couldas. And I don't want that to be you. So for today, for the reasons that's already been stated by Mr. Prater, I'm going to deny your parole, but with encouragement and just realizing that it's a disease that you'll fight the rest of your life.
All right, Cambridge, I'm encouraged with what the officer there said about you, about your work in the work release program. You're doing well, and I'm really encouraged with what your family has said about you. But I do agree with my colleagues, based on your history of revocation and the opposition that's been expressed. My vote today is going to be to deny you parole. Wish you well. Good luck to you.
Well, how do I get shipped to another facility where there's no classes offered here?
We can make that request. We can't, we can't order it, but we will certainly make that request on your behalf. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
That concludes our business in Ouachita. We'll sign off at 11:36. All right, Committee on Parole is back in session at 11:47 on June 18th, 2024. We are now at Riverbend Detention Center. My name is Cheryl Renata, serving as chairman of today's panel. We have also on the panel Mr. Steve Prater and Mrs. Carolyn Stapleton. Is there any staff in the room with you, Mr. Biggs? Or are you by yourself? We'd like the staff to introduce themselves. I think your microphone is still on mute.
He said you gotta introduce yourself. She has about his staff in the room.
Good morning. Would you introduce yourself for the record, sir?
My name is Lieutenant Johnny.
All right, Lieutenant Johnny, thanks for helping us out and accommodating us today. We'll go ahead and get started with our parole for Mr. Biggs.
All right, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Biggs, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and your DOC number.
My name is Ashton Biggs, DOC number 769-709.
All right, Mr. Biggs, let me, before we get started, I want to acknowledge the folks who have joined us today. We have your mother, is it Miss Richard or Miss Richard?
Sure.
Ms. Richard, Rebecca, your grandmother, Ms. Lemke, and your adoptive mother, Miss Anna Eister?
East, Anna East.
East, okay. And we'll call on those who indicate they want to speak. At the appropriate time, we'll do that. Also joining us by Zoom, we have Madeline Gordon and Mr. Alexander Hurd, and we'll hear from both of those at the appropriate time. First, let me read some identifying information into the record, Mr. Biggs. You are classified as a first felony offender. You're currently serving a 10-year sentence. You were sentenced in Calcasieu Parish, June of 2022 for carnal knowledge of a juvenile. You do have a parole eligibility date, which has passed. It was September 21st, 2023. You don't earn good time, so your full term date is May 22nd, 2030. Does that information sound correct to you?
Yes, ma'am.
So how old are you, Mr. Biggs?
I'm 25.
How long have you been in jail?
4 years.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
4 years.
4 years. So you served 4 years of your 10-year sentence. And you do you have a child?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
She's 6. Is it a 6-year-old daughter?
Yes, ma'am, her name is Kendall.
So when you were originally arrested, you charged as for a misdemeanor offense.
Yes.
Later, that was amended to a felony.
Yes, ma'am.
That's why we're here today. Now, at the time, you said you've been in jail 4 years, so you were 21 at the time of the offense?
No, I was 20 at the time of the offense, and I was arrested after I turned 21.
Okay, so you're 20. So at the time, how old was the victim in this case?
About to be 17.
But you were 16, okay? And you knew she was 16. Right?
Yes.
And how did you come to know the victim?
She had messaged me on social media.
So y'all met through social media?
Yes, ma'am.
And since your arrest in jail, have you had any contact at all with Ms. Matt through directly or indirectly?
No.
So since you've been in jail 4 years, what programs have you been able to take that would help you?
I have signed up for every program that there is, every job that comes around, every class that you can take. I have signed the paper. At this facility, if you can't earn good time, they won't let you take any classes because people that earn good time take precedence, you know. So, but I did do that. And then when I got my trustee position, I talked to the captain and tried to enroll. And he said there was nothing he could do. So,
what's your job?
I'm the law librarian.
Okay.
In May County.
How long have you have that job?
6 months.
What'd you do before that?
Try to keep my head on straight.
So you didn't have a job?
I have, the law librarian job came after I've been helping people do law work since I got here at Riverbend for the past 2 years. And there was another law librarian. And then when he got shipped, I was recommended for the job.
What's your level of education?
I graduated high school and then I took some technical classes and I have a certification in drilling fluids engineering. That's what I used to do. I used to be a mud engineer in the oil field.
So, do you have a substance abuse problem?
Not anymore. I had adopted substance abuse after this situation occurred in February of 2019, and some other things occurred in my life, and I kind of just stopped caring. And
So at the time of this crime, you were not under the influence of any substance?
Alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm moving on. I was referring to other things other than alcohol, drugs.
Right.
Later on in my life.
Was your drug of choice?
Cocaine.
And since you've been in jail, have you ever been drug tested?
Yes, ma'am. Passed every single one of them.
What's your conduct records look like?
0.
You've been there, it looks like you were sentenced, yeah, you've been there pretty much at Riverbend since you've been in jail.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Well, there's opposition to an early release for you. The district attorney's office says you've not served enough time on your 10-year sentence. The law enforcement is opposed. What would you say to that?
I have no idea. I don't know what their opinion, that's their opinion, but to me, I've changed as a person. And the person that went to jail 4 years ago is definitely not the person now. So if they are making that recommendation based on the person that was 4 years ago, then I can understand why they would make that recommendation, but now I'm a different person.
How so?
I just come to terms with a lot of things in life, and regardless of what happened, it was my fault. I was there, I participated, and I can't control anybody else's part of it, but it was my fault. If I wouldn't have been there, none of this would have happened. And I had to change. I had to work on myself because this is not the type of life that I want for myself.
Where's your daughter?
She's with her mother.
Do you have any contact with either of them?
I do talk to my daughter every now and then when she is with Ms. Richard. We have video visits and talk on the phone. Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'm gonna let me look and see if my colleagues has any questions. I don't see that there's any questions on the board. So we'll hear from the folks who want to speak on your behalf. We'd like to hear from your mother.
Yes, ma'am.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am. My name's Kelly Richard, and I'm Ashton's mother. In the past 4 years, since I've seen him be in jail and incarcerated, I have seen a great maturity come in him and taken responsibility for his actions. And I recommend that he does get out because I know he has an incredible support system between his family and his church family. And his little girl has been asking for him to come home. She misses him, as we all do. And he does have several jobs lined up, one through my company and one through my husband, his stepfather, who is a supervisor at the plants. So he has a lot of potential and a lot of support for when he comes home. And I do believe beyond a shadow of a doubt that he is different than he was 4 years ago. His attitude, the way he talks, the way he looks at everything. And he also has been in correspondence with Texas Bible College. And one of the mentors at our church did offer to pay for his classes if he enrolled. So I know he's been in correspondence with them. And we pray and hope that y'all take into consideration. And this is his first time ever being in trouble. And wrong place, wrong time. He should have never been there. But we do ask that you consider his release. Thank you.
And thank you. We appreciate your input. Now, Ms. East. You're on mute.
Got it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Anna East. And I've known Ashton for 25 years. Helped raise him in his earlier years. And I think he would be good to get out, because he isn't, like his mom said, he has never been in trouble before. And we helped support him while he's in jail, all three of us, for 4 years. And I know that he made a mistake. And I do believe he has rehabilitated himself and grown as a person while he's in there. He's very talented, very smart. He works in the law library at Rapides. And I helped him by calling like the court or DOCs for him while he helped the people in jail with him. And his dad agreed that he would be good. You know, he wouldn't make the same mistake twice. I think he has learned. And we'll support him when he gets out as much as we can. And that's all.
Ma'am, thank you so much for your remarks. We appreciate it. Before we move to the opposition, Mr. Biggs, is there anything else you would like to say before we move on?
Sorry to everybody involved, not just Madeline, but her family and my family, because they are collateral damage, our families. And they didn't deserve any of this. We wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation. I'd have been minding my own business. It's my fault, and I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir. So at this time, I assume that Madeline and Mr. Alexander are together. I'll let you choose who wants to speak first.
Okay, I'm gonna go first.
Okay.
But my mother is also in this Zoom, and I know she has something to say as well.
Okay.
Okay. I wrote something up, so I'm just gonna go ahead and read it. Unfortunately, every time his name comes up, me, my fiance, and my entire family's body tense up, because each time the feelings of that entire chapter is filled with pain, anxiety, and suffering. It's all reopened all over again. I could sit here all day long and paint y'all a picture of truly how much emotional, mental, and even physical trauma this all has caused. I'll keep it short though. Over the past 6 years, I've experienced sleepless nights, therapy, I've had strain on my relationship, PTSD episodes. I fear to even be alone with any man, including those in my own family who have given me no reason to be. I've lost myself. I've had panic attacks, dissociation, nightmares, and I could seriously go on and on and on. But on the flip side, I've also found myself. I've found a sense of peace in this entire situation, and I've found a way to be a voice for others in similar situations like my own. And I've also chosen to forgive. But although I've forgiven and found peace, not a day goes by that I can forget what happened. And it surely doesn't help that although he is in jail, every time I'm making new connections with friends, coworkers, even my clients in real estate, somehow, some way, somebody controlling Ashton Biggs' Snapchat account, and or his friends are reaching out to me via Instagram, telling me how I've concocted a series of lies and evidence, and have even sent out a link with official documents, and is saying that I put him in jail unrightfully. This is actually the first time he has admitted to even doing the crime. So I've had my name, my family's name, my partner's name, our pictures blasted all over social media, all while he has been in jail. My only fear is that if my reputation, which I might add is my entire career, can be destroyed by lies, if I or others, my friends, the DA, can receive threatening calls and messages by him and friends. If I can live in fear now, what is my life going to look like when he gets out? I truly can't find myself leading a normal life. I have 3 months until I get married, and instead of happily celebrating and planning, I've been anxiously awaiting today to see if this is the day I need to pack up my life and leave to escape the damage that he would do if he gets out. All this being said, I could give you 100 exhibits of why somebody like him should not get off so easy. Evidence of my torment, 6 years of my medical bills to prove the trauma. But instead, I really just pray that God gives y'all the discernment to make the right decision here.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate that thought impact. Do you want Alexander to go next or your mom?
Yes, Alex can go next.
Before I make my statement, I want whomever may be listening to this to truly listen and put yourself in Madeline's and me, her fiance's shoes. Listen as a human being who has love and feelings for other people. Listen as a father, a mother, a sibling, a husband, a wife, grandmother, grandpa, etc. How would you feel if that person you love so dearly was in the situation Madeline's in right now? Me and Maddie became friends not too long after the sexual assault with Ashton Biggs. We later started to date and eventually became a very close couple. She is now my girlfriend and fiance of almost 4 years. I met Maddie as a very sweet and strong, but scared and timid young woman. I knew something was always on her mind and weighing her down since the day I met her. It took months for her to come to me with what had happened. The first time I heard this story, it broke my heart, made me angry, and it just made me question humanity. How can somebody do this, I have grown extremely close with her family over the last 4 years. After getting to know her and her family, I have learned and been told the person she used to be. Before being raped, Maddie was outgoing, always wanting to help others before herself, and truly saw no wrong in any human on this planet. Just a sweet, young, innocent girl, trying to find her purpose in this world. Ever since the rape committed by Ashton Biggs, she has never been the same. Her innocence was truly robbed from her at such a young age by a true monster that is named Ashton Biggs. I cannot count the amount of times that she has woken up sweating, crying, and pleading for it to stop, for the nightmares of the sexual assault replaying in her dreams to just stop. It's a heartbreaking thing to watch. Knowing I can't do anything to make it stop or leave her head, all I can do is hold her and tell her it's going to be okay. which it is not okay. Nothing will ever be okay about rape. There have been nights where she has wakened in the middle of the night in such a bad nightmare that she thought I was Ashton Biggs. It takes me begging and pleading her to stop before she finally realizes that I am not him. To realize I am her fiance, and she grabs me and cries. To this day, Madeline does not feel safe around any male humans because of this disgusting crime committed by Ashton Biggs. The sentence Ashton Biggs received was a slap on the wrist, in my opinion, and a lot of others as well. 10 years for raping a 16-year-old girl is beyond me. I'd be willing to bet and would like to think anyone with a wife, a girlfriend, a mother, a child, etc., would wholeheartedly agree with me. Agree that 4 years in prison and then to be released on parole for such a crime is a joke. And the fact that he is trying to get out on parole is honestly scary and a slap in Madeline's face. How would you feel if your child, wife, or mother was raped? Not only was she raped, but after this horrible act was committed, Ashton Biggs proceeded to threaten Madeline. Not just threats to ruin her name or threats to call her a liar and ruin her reputation. Not even physical threats, just physical threats. Ashton Biggs threatened Madeline with her life. Ashton Biggs threatened to kill Madeline if she ever spoke about the rape to anyone. And if she did speak about it and he ended up in jail, he told her he would, and he told her that it would be the last day that she saw light. The fact that he is up for parole is once again mind-blowing to me. 4 years out on parole is mind-boggling to me.
Mr. Hurt, can you wrap it up for us, sir?
Yes, I'm on my last one. The innocence of a child was completely robbed from her, and she now lives in constant fear from this. I could go on for hours talking about this, but this is the end of what I have to say today. I hope you genuinely listened as someone with a mother, a daughter, a wife, and a family. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, and Miss Aaron?
Yes, ma'am. All right. February 14th, 2019, I went to bed not knowing that when I woke up, my family's lives would be changed forever. We spent the next 1,024 days on a roller coaster of emotions, heartache, and fear, not only for our daughter, but our entire family. When I sat in the courtroom and listened to the judge read Mr. Biggs' sentence, I finally felt like I could breathe. Not only would he serve time for his actions that forever changed my daughter, but I was also hopeful that he would receive the support and help he needed. Receiving the phone call less than 1 year after his sentencing, informing me that he was up for a parole hearing was gut-wrenching. Every emotion, heartache, and fear felt before was back stronger than ever. I do thank God each and every day for the mercy he granted Madeline that night, knowing all too well that we could have experienced a very different outcome. But regardless of the poor decisions she made that night to get into a vehicle with someone she knew only from social media, she did not deserve the things that were to come. She did not deserve to be threatened by Mr. Biggs about saying anything, nor did she deserve to be repeatedly called a liar about what happened that night. Yes, her scratches, bruises, and soreness did eventually heal, but the emotional scars have not. Madeline would carry the emotional scars and anxiety stemming from that night for her the rest of her life. It is evident by Mr. Biggs' social media post and by the music he wrote and performed that women, regardless of age, are mere objects for his personal pleasure and satisfaction. They are just another notch in his belt or another verse in one of his grotesque songs. No one deserves to ever experience the narcissistic destruction of Mr. Biggs. As a mother, I prayed that while he was in custody, he had time to think about what happened and truly felt remorse for what he did and that he wanted to change his ways. My biggest question is how in less than 1 year of serving a 10-year sentence has Mr. Biggs changed? What has he done to better himself? What courses has he completed? What has he learned? Mr. Biggs is not remorseful. He does not feel he has done anything wrong. He 100% feels that he has been wrongfully accused, and he has stated that multiple times. The anxiety and fear of what our family will face when Mr. Biggs is released makes me physically ill. I not only fear for the well-being and emotional health of my daughter and our other children, but for my own health. Due to the appalling actions of Mr. Biggs, as well as what he has managed to orchestrate while in custody, has caused me to experience panic attacks, high blood pressure, stress-induced inflammation, lupus flares, as well as nightmares. When I receive a phone call from Madeline crying hysterically because she saw one who resembled Mr. Biggs or has received a message from one of his acquaintances, that horrific night replays in my head over and over again. The steps, growth, and progress I felt we have made all come crumbling down, and in that moment, it feels as though it is once again the morning of February 15th, 2019. Will we let Mr. Biggs control the rest of our lives? Absolutely not. But he will always have taken something from our entire family that can never be made whole. I'm one who always tries to find a silver lining, but I'm going to be 100% honest with all of you. Looking for something positive that could possibly come from this horrific nightmare has not been easy. The past 5 years have brought many tears, but it's those tears that have been the fuel needed to hopefully make a difference in the lives of other women in our community who have fallen victim to sexual assault. It's our family's experience and a story that has been used to make a positive impact on the life of even one victim. This ongoing emotional roller coaster has been worthwhile. As the mother who has watched Mr. Biggs nearly destroy our family, I respectfully ask that Mr. Biggs continue his sentence and take advantage of the help and resources available to him while in custody. Due to continued accusations, threats, and refusal to take responsibility for his actions, I would like for you to ensure that a lifetime protective order for Madeline not be removed. I ask this not only for my daughter and our family, but for all sexual assault victims afraid to speak up. Mr. Biggs, I have not yet forgiven, but I pray every day that God gives me the mercy in my heart and the spiritual strength to do so. I pray for your young daughter and that she never experiences the horrific things that you did to my daughter. And I pray that you one day realize that yes, you were responsible for what happened and that you do take advantage of any classes available to you, and that when it is time for you to be released, you have genuinely changed your ways. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your input. Thank you so much. Mr. Biggs, I think we're ready to vote. I'll be voting first, and I've listened very carefully to everybody who said anything today, including you. And early on, I asked you if you had any contact with Madeline, either directly or through a third party, and you said no. And we've heard otherwise, and there's information contained in the record that I was able to review that would indicate otherwise as well. Your family has indicated that you've not been in trouble before, but you do have some other prior arrests and convictions. You've not had the opportunity, I will agree, for programming that you need to help you out, in particular sex offender treatment. And I know they don't offer it there. And you've explained why you haven't been in programs because you don't get the good time credit for it. I cannot vote to grant your parole without you having some of those programs, in particular the sex offender treatment. My vote today, based on that and the opposition that's been expressed here today, is going to be to deny your parole with the recommendation that you be moved to a facility that will afford you the program opportunities. That's my vote. Mr. Prater?
I concur with your vote to deny. My reasons would be those, plus the fact that I think just the amount of time he served on a 10-year sentence that was given, and the judge specifically said without benefit of parole, probation, or suspension of sentence. And I think that should mean something. And my vote to deny.
Mrs. Stapleton?
My vote is going to be to deny today too. And I agree with Mr. Prater. The fact that the judge added without benefit of probation, parole, or suspension of sentence meant that the judge thought it was going to be 10 years, just like the victim, Madeline, and her family did. Madeline, you showed a great deal of courage today to speak out. And I don't know if you're going to turn this into a purpose and a passion for yourself, but you are a very strong young lady. And your fiance and your mother for speaking on your behalf, that was very courageous of both of you. And we listened also to Mr. Biggs and his family. So I'm hoping that, like Miss Renasa said, that you will be able to be moved to a facility where you will be able to get the classes that you say that you want. But today, my vote is going to be denied based upon victim opposition, law enforcement opposition. You haven't served enough time and you need more classes in sex offender.
All right, Mr. Biggs, today the vote's to deny your parole. We'll make the recommendation for a transfer for you. Good luck to you, sir.
The transfer, I had been screened for the young adult program at Elaine Hunt's correctional facility.
Now, we're just gonna make a recommendation to the Department of Corrections. We don't choose where you go, so. All right, and that concludes our business, there at Riverbend. We're gonna sign off at 12:17. Yeah.
Good.
All right, good morning. Committee on Parole is reconvening on Tuesday, June 18th, 2024. It's 12:25 p.m. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Cheryl Renatza, serving as chairman of today's parole panel. My colleagues on the panel today are Mrs. Carolyn Stapleton, Mr. Steve Prater. We are at Rapides Parish Detention Center now. Would the staff at Rapides please introduce yourself for the record? The microphone's on mute, and is there any staff in the room with you? You by yourself? Okay. You know how to unmute it?
I think I just did unmute.
Got it. Okay, you got it. Would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
My name is Marlon Pipkins, 474-183.
All right, Mr. Pipkins, and you heard our introduction, so let me just ask your counsel to introduce themselves for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Sam Armstrong. I'm a recent graduate of the University of Virginia School of Law. I'm here with my attorney supervisor, Kelly Oriens.
All right, good morning. Good afternoon. Thank you. So, and we also have with the first 72, Chloe Denman, and we'll call on her at the appropriate time for her remarks. Mr. Pipkins, I'll read some identifying information into the record. Ms. Stapleton has been assigned your case. She'll take the lead on the interview. When we're finished with all our questions and we hear from the first 72, we'll turn it over to Mr. Armstrong. After you can make a statement before we let him close out if you want to make a statement. So we'll decide at that time. So let's get started. Mr. Pipkins, you're classified as a fourth felony offender. You're currently serving a 20-year sentence. You were sentenced in Orleans Parish in January of 2017 for possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, possession with intent to distribute tramadol, distribution to persons under 18 years of age, and as a habitual offender, possession with intent to distribute cocaine. You have a parole eligibility date, which was June 27th of 2023, and you do have a good time date, which is October 31st of 2035. Does all that sound accurate to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, if I could interrupt, I think that you said one of the offenses was possession with intent to distribute to a minor, which is 40:981. But the correct offense should be 40:981.3, which is possession with intent within 2,000 feet of a school.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I did say distribution to a minor. Thank you. So noted. Mr. Pipkins, would you answer Mrs. Stapleton's questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Pipkins.
How you doing, ma'am?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Listen, you heard what Ms. Renatza read about the drug charges. They're very serious. And from the records that I can see that you've got drug charges and arrests that go back starting in the year of 2003. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you've got a long history of that. It's not just drug arrest, it's that you got with intent to distribute. Is that correct? During that time, am I correct? You used and you sold drugs.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So now you've got a 20-year sentence.
Yes, ma'am.
I see where you've done a great many programs while you've been incarcerated. And I'm trying to see, did I miss it? Did you do any that was for drug rehabilitation?
I've done substance abuse part 1 and part 2, risk management, ma'am.
Risk management with the substance abuse. Okay. I see the risk management 1 and 2. I'm so used to seeing Steve Hoyle being our really a top-notch intensive drug assistance, drug abuse program. So that's good to know that, because that was one of my questions. Had you had any, tell me what you got out of that program, the risk management part 1 and 2.
Risk man, I gotta just try to stay clean and try to stay away from the triggers that are trigger you into drug use and things like that. So, you know, with me taking that class, that played a big part of me, helping me to keep my sobriety going while I was incarcerated, and hope I could keep it going if I get released, man.
I see that you only had one write-up. Tell me about that. I know what it says. You tell me what you say.
Yes, ma'am. We was they was conducting a shakedown throughout the whole dome. It was 100-man dome. And how they shook down, they make all us leave, open our lockers and just leave out the dome. They'll search us before we leave out the dome.
Right.
They'll sit us in the kitchen on the yard. And while we was in the kitchen, when we come back, they said they found the knife in my locker, man. And when I went to DB court, I asked them, can they replay the cameras to show that did somebody drop the knife in my locker? If I didn't have a knife in the locker, they said they only replay the cameras is when it's a staff-involved incident.
Okay.
So I just wound up just pleading guilty. Hopefully the court show mercy on.
Okay, well, I see that on your prior convictions that you've been on parole before, and you had one was successful, and two of them you had revocations. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And so what caused your revocations the time that you had them?
I caught a new charge, ma'am.
And what would be the charge?
A drug charge.
Drug charge. Okay. That's what I showed. I just wanted to make sure. And I'm showing that you've served 7.5 years of this 20-year sentence. Do I have that correct?
Another 9 days, it'll be 8 years.
Almost 8 years. Okay. Well, that was my questions. I'll pass along to my other board members.
Mr. Prater, do you have it?
Yes, sir. I was wondering, how many times have you been revoked once you've been allowed out on parole?
I've been revoked. Well, I revoked myself one time, but I've been revoked 2 times.
Okay, and how many times have you been on parole?
2 times.
Okay, so 2 out of 2. That's not very good. How many times have you been charged with gun charges, with having some sort of a firearm?
Twice, sir.
Okay. And you were charged with selling drugs and with possessing a firearm, correct?
Yes, sir.
What kind of gun was it?
It was a 9mm, sir.
Okay. All right, and you were given 20 years. How much of that have you served so far?
9 more days will be 8 years.
Okay. So you hadn't served half of it yet, and that's your 4th felony offender.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. That's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Mr. Pipkins, I noticed that you've earned 300 days of good time credits for the classes you've taken. I also noticed that you have a loss of good time 60 days. What is that about? Was that for the night?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And how old are you?
39 years old, ma'am.
Birthday coming up in July.
Yes, ma'am.
So we talked about you were a drug user and a drug seller.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me ask you a few questions based on that substance abuse. Were you using heroin, painkillers, or other opiates before this recent period of incarceration?
No, ma'am.
What was your drug of choice?
Marijuana.
Marijuana. Do you believe your substance use contributed to your incarceration?
Yeah.
And so you're here for possession with intent to distribute. I believe it was cocaine and one was tramadol.
Yes, ma'am.
But you didn't do either of those drugs, you just stuck with the marijuana.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's all I have. So let's hear from, the first 72. Ms. Denton.
Hi, thank you for having me today. My name is Chloe Dinman. I serve as executive support and policy advocate for the First 72 Plus. And as you know, the First 72 Plus is a re-entry organization in New Orleans where Mr. Pipkins is from. We will be here to support him upon his hopeful release with wide variety of services, ranging from intensive case management, in which he'll be paired with a peer mentor who is also formerly incarcerated to kind of guide him along in this process. One of the main things we will help him be provided with is employment support. So as we know, the two main barriers to reentry are housing and employment. And Mr. Pipkins is planning to stay with his mom already, which is really, really great. And so in terms of the employment piece, he already has multiple job offers with his family members as either a plumber or a factory worker. And really, we believe that if Mr. Pipkins has ongoing employment and all of the other wraparound services we're able to provide him with ongoing treatment, that he will not go back to finding alternative means for employment. We also will provide him with mandatory drug abuse counseling. We partner with Crescent City Addiction and Recovery. So Mr. Pipkins would be required to attend those weekly sessions or ongoing daily sessions, depending on what you guys would like. And he also suggested that he would like to get his GED, and we can help partner with St. Vincent de Paul in order to ensure that he is able to receive those services. Any other services Mr. Pipkins needs upon your request, we'll be able to work with him and you all, as well as Kelly, to ensure that we are able to provide those services. We think that Mr. Pipkins would be a really, really great part of our program, and we would ask for your hopeful release. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Pipkins, before we turn it over to Mr. Armstrong, is there something you'd like to say to us?
Yes, ma'am. I would like to say I had it rough growing up, ma'am, and I'm not trying to make no excuse for nothing that I did. You know, I own up to all my mistakes and all the mistakes that I made. And I am hoping that I could get another chance that I could prove to myself and to my family and to my community that I could be a better man, a better person, and a better father. And if I get this opportunity from y'all, I will spend the rest of my life trying to be a better person and a better individual to my community now. Instead of trying to hurt the community like I did before, you know, I try to raise my community and help my community if I get the chance, when I get the chance.
All right, well said. All right, Mr. Armstrong.
Thank you, board. So I, along with a couple of other law students, Sam Meyer and Sarah Gabringas, we've been working with Mr. Pipkins for the past several months, and we would ask today that you would grant him parole. Just a few points that I'd like to emphasize. The first is that while Mr. Pipkins is at Rapides right now, he was at Riverbend for almost his entire sentence, for almost that whole 8 years. And while he was there, he developed a great relationship with the administration, and he was seen as a trustworthy figure. The administration selected him to go to an event to talk to middle schoolers and high schoolers, to talk to them about, you know, being risk averse, to talk to them about his experiences and what they can do to avoid his situation. And we mentioned earlier about that one write-up that he had. First of all, just that one write-up in all those years. And it's worth mentioning that you know, this event with the school and the students, that happened just a month after that write-up. So there was still clearly a level of trust there. At Riverbend, he put forward ideas to the administration regarding communication between offenders and staff, which Riverbend is looking to implement. And just generally, he was a peacemaker and a mentor at the facility. In the words of Officer Brown, who has a letter attached to the packet and who works at the Riverbend facility, it's the opinion of the Riverbend administration that Mr. Pipkins will be a productive member of the community and that his state of rehabilitation is overwhelming. Second, I just want to emphasize that Mr. Pipkins will be walking into a situation with immense support and structure. We've heard from the First 72 Plus, a great organization, which will be with him every step of the way. But even more importantly, his family is a strong support for him. They also have letters attached in the packet. And that's who he'll be living with and interacting with on a daily basis. And lastly, it's become evident in working with Mr. Pipkins that he's developed the maturity, the willpower, the perspective, everything that he needs to stay on the right track. He's an intelligent man, he's a caring man, and he wants nothing more than just to be a good dad to his daughters, a good son to his parents. And he's not going to do anything to put those relationships in jeopardy. And so for all those reasons, we would ask that you would grant him parole today. Thank you.
Sir, we appreciate the packet that you submitted. All right, I think the panel's prepared to vote. Mrs. Stapleton?
Yes, Mr. Pipkins, I heard all the positive things, and I'm happy to hear that about you. It seems like you are making an effort to be on the right path with your life. And I'm glad to hear that. And you're doing all the right things. And I'm glad that you have the excellent support that you do. But it doesn't mitigate the fact that you've got a 20-year sentence. You haven't done half of it yet. You do have some revocations previously. And also these charges are very serious crimes. And the possession with intent to distribute within 1,000 feet of a school, I'm glad you're now going to the schools and trying to tell them the dangers of drugs, because that's where you were at when you committed one of your crimes, was near a school. And also felon in possession of a firearm. So due to the nature of your crimes, the serious nature of your crimes, your extensive criminal history, and that you haven't done enough time yet of your sentence, I'm going to vote today to deny.
Thank you. Mr. Prater?
Yes, sir. I congratulate you for all the good that you've done, and it seems that you are turning your life around. But there is a reason that judges give sentences, and your sentence was 20 years. And I think because guns were involved in 2 of those arrests, that's the main thing I look at. Guns were involved in both of those. I'd like to see a couple more years of your sentence served, and you proven that you're continuing the same path that you're on now. And I congratulate you for it. And I think that all can be well, but I still think that you need a little bit more time, just to pay your penalty to society for all of the revocations and guns. I'm going to vote tonight.
All right, Mr. And I too am pleased with the work that you've done and the support that you have from family and your community and the support from your counsel. I do agree with my colleagues based on what we see in the record, insufficient time on the sentence. So my vote today also is to deny, and with the strong encouragement, as soon as you're eligible to reapply, you should do so. You have the opportunity to do so. Hope to see you again soon. Thank you, sir. Mr. Pipkins, today your parole's been denied.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.